Attention is the seed of control and the down payment on your future life. Whoever directs your focus today decides your decisions tomorrow. What starts as a glance can become a belief, a purchase, or even a lifelong commitment. It's like the cockpit of an airplane, full of small instruments that guide enormous power. Subtle inputs set the course, while emotion provides the thrust that carries you around the world, or across the world for all my flat earthers. Attention is not the full arsenal, but it's always the opening move in drawing you into a funnel that shapes your decisions, loyalty, and identity into an outcome someone else designed. That funnel from interest to decision is what we're going to talk about today. In broad strokes, disruption captures attention through novelty, emotion, and broken patterns that jolt you out of autopilot. That emotional reaction is what escalates things to the point of urgency. The resulting curiosity creates a dopamine loop because we feel like if we can understand something, then we can control it. And with enough repetition, those ideas feel confirmed, causing you to commit and ignore conflicting evidence, creating an echo chamber. Then you make decisions based on that idea, and those investments bind you even tighter because now questioning them means reevaluating your whole life and potentially contradicting yourself. Repeat it often enough, and this process solidifies into identity. These funnels shape politics, relationships, and entire lifestyles. And unless you recognize the noose before it tightens, you'll find yourself blacked out in someone else's grip. So let's break it down. Disruption captures attention. Novelty, emotion, and broken patterns snap you out of autopilot. A glitch in the feed, an odd phrase in a conversation, even a sudden change in someone's tone. These moments might not feel like much, but your brain is wired to treat them like alarms. It's a primal instinct because in a dangerous world, the thing that breaks the pattern could either save your life or end it. And in modern life, this same reflex is constantly hijacked. Marketers, influencers, and manipulators use it every single day to capture your gaze before logic ever has a chance to come online. Most decisions feel like choices, but begin as reactions to what grabs your attention. And that spark isn't random either. It's engineered as a deliberate hook designed to make you pay attention. And the moment you do, you've entered a transaction. Someone else is selling, and you've already bought the opening move. Just because something caught your eye doesn't mean it mattered. So don't let your brain mistake novelty for importance. But disruption is only the opening move. To hold you, they have to escalate the emotional engagement as well, because emotion escalates attention. What begins as interesting only becomes important when you feel it. A headline doesn't hook you because it's clever, but because it stirs something inside of you, like anger, fear, or desire. In our airplane analogy, emotion is what supplies the thrust, or the tiny steering inputs that guide your thought process. Your body floods with chemicals designed to keep you locked in. Adrenaline sharpens your senses and primes you for impulsive action. Cortisol narrows your field of vision. The constant drip of dopamine promises a reward that's always just out of reach. And suddenly, what felt like a passing detail now feels urgent, personal, and high stakes. That urgency short circuit is why rage bait works. It's how fear keeps entire populations glued to a screen. It's why relationships flare into obsession when uncertainty is paired with hope or lust. It's also why the most destructive but also most addictive relationships tend to feel like a roller coaster. Emotion isn't just fuel. It's glue. Once you feel something, it sticks to you. But that's still only step two. The real trap is how your mind tries to resolve what's now burning inside it. And that's where curiosity locks the loop. The mind craves closure, turning uncertainty into an itch you have to scratch, and every unanswered question into bait. That's why it's much easier to heal from a breakup once you get closure. The mistake most people make is thinking that they need it from the other person. So they re-engage and open themselves up to the problem all over again instead of just taking responsibility for processing the situation on their own. But whatever the circumstance, that open question, that unresolved tension, it just nags away until you can't help but chase an answer. It feels like free choice, but the curiosity was engineered and planted in your mind. What you think you want to know is what someone else designed for you to wonder about. This is why clickbait is so effective, or why an ambiguous text in a new relationship lingers in your head all day and just completely throws you off. It's why you can't stop scrolling until you've figured out the current drama or fad. And scrolling is just an exaggeration of what humans do naturally anyway. We scan our environment looking for any little jolt of dopamine to keep us going and chase after it full speed. We believe that if we learn enough, we'll gain mastery. So we sink more and more energy into taking ownership of things that we don't actually understand. In other words, curiosity gives us the illusion of control while pulling us deeper into someone else's design. And when curiosity is met with perceived confirmation, the loop closes even tighter. Impressions stop feeling like guesses and start hardening into truth. Exposure reshapes your sense of reality, especially when paired with emotion. The first time you hear something, you might doubt it. The 10th time, it feels familiar. The 100th time, it feels undeniable. Your brain confuses recognition for truth because it's constantly trying to make sense of things for you. Because if it can understand something, then it can develop strategies to deal with it. The problem is, we have a tendency to confuse hypothesis with law. Since we're always looking for patterns, we sometimes see them where they don't exist. And even if there is something there, with a limited perspective, we often take fragments of reality out of context and jump to conclusions, add emotion to the mix, and the effects become exponential. Primal instincts like anger, fear, or desire turn repetition into resonance. What starts as plausible begins to feel personal and then inevitable. And the more you've invested, the harder it is to pull away. So the echo chamber doesn't just close in around you, it also comes from within, through the survival biases built into your own brain. Once repetition sets the stage, you're not just convinced, you're committed. And commitment means your choices begin bending around the belief itself. That's when you fall into the trap of emotional investment. Once you care, your brain filters the world to confirm what you've already chosen, and the reticular activating system shifts into gear. The same mechanism that makes you notice your name in a crowded room or suddenly see your new car model everywhere causes everything around you to seemingly point back to the belief you have adopted. It feels like evidence, but it's really your brain editing reality to protect your commitment. Which is great if that's true, but you need to start paying attention to where your focus goes, because everything around us is engineered to draw us in and create the illusion of reality that best serves the architect. That's not a conspiracy. If social media companies can keep more people on their platform for longer, they make more money. The longer a brand can hold the attention of a group, the more money they make. The political ideology you're surrounded by most is probably going to dictate who you elect so they can make more money. So they can better serve the public. From there, the cycle deepens. You start making choices around this belief, and each one reinforces it that much more. What began as attention becomes loyalty, and what began as curiosity becomes conviction. You don't just notice the belief anymore, you live it. And once a concept is tied to who you are, the funnel becomes self-reinforcing because identity seals it shut, shifting a belief from optional to defining. Once something fuses with who you are, it stops being a preference and becomes a badge. That's why political parties turn voters into tribes, why brands create diehard fans, and why relationships become labels you defend even once they turn abusive. Because staying feels safer than admitting the truth. And at this stage, contradiction doesn't break the spell either. It strengthens it. Challenges to your belief feel like attacks on you personally. So you go to war. You dig your heels in and close yourself further and further into the loop. Once identity has locked the system in, it becomes an invisible prison. But funnels don't just shape public opinions or purchases. Left unchecked, they mold entire lives, relationships, careers, the mindsets we adopt, which are the crucial determining factor in our mental health, success, and just the way we relate to life in general. It all runs on the same mechanics. Identity makes the funnel airtight, and the funnels shape our entire lives. When directed properly, a spark of attention can compound into beliefs, choices, and identities that define the path you walk. Those emotional hooks don't just gently nudge you. They drag you further and further down the road until eventually you start learning to run on your own. And sometimes this is good. I'm not saying that all your beliefs and stances are wrong, not by any means. Your attention could be caught by a great business opportunity, a real threat that you needed to deal with, or by the girl that would end up becoming your wife. What I'm trying to do is get you to understand how powerful attention is so you can start treating it with respect and recognizing just how badly we mishandle it. And I don't need to sit here and teach you everything about the cognitive and neurochemical mechanics of attention to do that either. I just need to get you to notice it, because once you do, it's so interesting. I know you'll be hooked. And as soon as you start getting better at noticing where your attention goes, it'll become crystal clear how easily you've been manipulated and outplayed. And that's going to piss you off. So you'll start taking more control of your mind and making better decisions. And if you stay consistent with that, the results will snowball into a force of nature that propels you through anything life throws at you. So I started by talking about the dark side of how attention is weaponized, but I want to use that to lead you into all the good it can do for you. And that's kind of how it has to be, because we learn all of our most important lessons from pain. It's not until we can look clearly at our lives, recognize how often we've been distracted or misdirected, calculate the cost of missed opportunity, reevaluate the power and leeway that we've given to people and things who don't deserve it, and feel that pain so we can finally get angry enough to make decisive changes. Mastering your attention makes you powerful. It won't save you from pain, but it will keep you from torturing yourself by obsessing over it. It'll let you work through sensitive issues without getting distracted and overwhelmed by emotion. You'll become aware of how other people frame situations and spin stories to redirect your attention away from logic and into a reactionary state, which I'm willing to bet happens a lot more than you think it does. Again, there's two sides to this coin. Anger can incite productive action, but it can also consume you. Fear can protect you, but it can also become a prison. Curiosity can send us to Mars or trap us in an entertainment culture. Ambition can scale mountains or blind you to everything else. The same forces that built civilizations also built rehab facilities. The same mechanics that shape loyalty can create obsession. Funnels are not neutral. They either serve you or enslave you, which is why the most important step is knowing when one has you in its grip before you're strangled to sleep without realizing it, which is what I feel like is going to happen every time I wear a turtleneck. Breaking free requires awareness. Recognize the chokehold before it tightens or you'll black out in someone else's grip. Just like a hunter's snare, funnels don't announce themselves. They feel natural and unavoidable until you wake up and realize that you've been played your entire life. I think about how when I'm training jujitsu, I always want to push myself as far as I can. So sometimes I'll be getting choked out, but I won't tap because it doesn't feel like I'm going to lose consciousness until all of a sudden my vision becomes a dark tunnel and it feels like I've fallen down a well. Influence kind of works the same way. The people with the most power are usually the ones who are best at hiding it. In the gym, by the time that dark tunnel closes in, it's already too late to get away. You have to either stop the match or pass out. And in the real world, you also have to disengage and take a couple steps back. The only defense is awareness, catching on quickly when you still have some space to breathe and move. Because once you're about to go to sleep, your strength is too drained to fight back effectively. I had a breakthrough with this a few years ago. I realized one day that every time I lay down to sleep or had any mental space, my mind would immediately start to wander and begin fantasizing about these things that I wanted. I told myself it was some kind of visualization practice, but that wasn't true. I just wanted the dopamine hit. I wondered what would happen if instead of wasting all that time and energy daydreaming about scenarios that would never happen, what if instead I trained myself to think about the situations actually in front of me? Within 10 minutes, I realized that the things I wanted had some very real and immediate obstacles that I was aware of, but I had no plans to deal with. Just making that one shift and dragging my attention away from distraction and into the present unlocked a whole new world for me. So I would like to encourage you to take that first step as well. Start being more intentional about what you allow yourself to lock in on. If you can notice how disruption, emotion, curiosity, repetition, and identity stack together, you can break the loop before it seals. You can differentiate between an emotional pool that's healthy or toxic, whether curiosity is leading to mastery or distraction, whether repetition is building truth or just noise. Awareness doesn't stop these funnels from existing, but it does give you the leverage to choose which ones you go down. And with proper use, attention goes from being a weakness to be exploited to a weapon you can wield. So control your attention or it'll be used to control you. Every funnel begins with the smallest glance, but ends by shaping choices, loyalties, and even identity. If you don't steer, someone else will. Attention is the seed of control, the down payment on the life you'll end up living. Guard it, direct it, and use it with intention, because the difference between being manipulated and being free is nothing more than where you choose to look. If you need help building that framework, I put together a free PDF that shows you how to spot the traps, reclaim your focus, and use the same mechanics to think strategically. Subscribe with the link below, and I'll send it over to you. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate your time and attention. I will see you soon.